This video will explain how to set up for reimbursable expenses. Some businesses work on a time and materials basis. Usually, they pass on these costs to the customers as reimbursable expenses. These are expenses incurred during a job that you can charge back to the customer. They can include time, mileage, material costs, and products and services you buy on behalf of the customer. When you enter time and mileage, you can associate those expenses with a particular customer. Same thing when you enter a bill, or check or credit card charge for a vendor. You can associate that expense with a customer. This way, you can track these reimbursable expenses, also known as time and materials billing. So first, we have to set up how we want to track reimbursable expenses. So we'll set a couple preferences. Go to Edit, Preferences. Click Time and Expenses and click Company Preferences. Select this option if you want to track your expenses and your reimbursements for expenses in separate accounts. This way, when you pay a bill, QuickBooks posts the expense to the account you select as the expense account, and when you invoice a customer for a reimbursable expense, QuickBooks records the payment in an income account you set up to track reimbursable income. And we'll set up this account after we set these preferences. If you don't select this option, the income you get from the customer for the reimbursable expense posts to the expense account, which results in canceling the original expense. This option determines if the billable checkbox for expenses on bills is pre-checked or not checked. If you always want to make expenses billable, keep this option checked. Or if you just want to track expenses without billing a customer, uncheck the option. It just depends on what you do most often. You can always change whether or not an expense is billable when you enter the bill. So we want to set that default, so we'll select. If you want to mark up your costs for expenses by a certain percentage, you could enter that percentage here. And if you do that, you'll also need to assign a default markup account. And if you haven't created one yet, you could choose Add New and call it something like Markup Income. There are also some personal preferences on whether you see messages when invoicing customers who have reimbursable expenses associated with them. So let's go to Sales and Customers Preferences and click Yes to save our time and expenses preferences. Click My Preferences. This option alerts you when you create an invoice or sales receipt that a customer has some outstanding reimbursable expenses. Select this option if you don't want to be alerted, and you would choose this option if you charge for reimbursable expenses on a separate invoice. When you're ready to invoice for the reimbursable expenses, you would just click the Add Time Cost button on the invoice itself, and select this option if you want to choose how to proceed at the time of creating the invoice or sales receipt. So let's click OK to save these preferences. So in Preferences, we selected the option of posting reimbursable expenses as income. So we'll need to edit existing expense accounts that are reimbursable to associate this income account. So let's go to the chart of accounts. And let's scroll until we find an expense account that we want to associate a reimbursable income account to, and that's equipment rental. Click once and go to Account and go to Edit Account. And here you'll notice this checkbox, which is the preference that we set. So let's select that, and we'll need to choose an income account to associate with this expense account. So scroll up until you see Add New and click Add New. And we'll call this Equipment Rental. Now let's create a parent account for reimbursable income. So select this checkbox and choose Add New. And this will be the parent account, so we'll call it Reimbursement Income. And click Save and Close. And save and close to save this new income account. And save and close, to save our edits to this account. So let's scroll up a bit, and you can see the new parent account and the equipment rental sub-account. So create sub-accounts if you want to track more detail, like separating telephone, blueprint copying, freight and delivery, permits, and so on. Okay, let's close the chart of accounts.